Hello everyone, Chaos Theory here. Today is a very special day in the online Ashes community. As of today, Hope and Demona have been fully implemented into ashtechie.com and are also implemented into Tabletop Simulator. We've got all of the spoilers. We've had them for a little while now, so we know all the cards in these packs, and now they are all implemented and available to play with online. Now, this can be kind of a little bit of a weird situation because, these cards are unreleased. So we don't have the physical products yet, and we probably won't for a little while. It'll probably be another month or so before they are shipped out to us. We don't know the exact timeline right now, but most Ashes play is happening online right now. Most of the organized play in Ashes is online based. You've got TC League, the Team Covenant League. You've got First Five League that myself and Impossible German and Dijon on the Discord host. You've got Shuffle Bus tournaments. You've got different draft tournaments and so on. Almost all of the sort of competitive play of Ashes is happening online right now. So since we have the cards available, you're not going to be able to stop people from wanting to play with these cards. And in fact, I don't think it's discouraged for us to use these cards in these fan-run tournaments. So I'll specify that all of the organized play that's coming up that will feature these new cards before their physical release. These are not Plaid Hat Games sponsored events. Just want to throw that out there just in case anyone feels a little bit weird about seeing these cards in play before they're officially released. But that said, if you are interested in seeing a little preview of what these cards are capable of, this video is for you. I built a Hope deck featuring cards from Hope and from Demona, and it's a really fun, cool list. And I got to play a game against a great community member, Brian B, tonight, and he was playing an Auric list with some of the new cards as well. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about the deck list very briefly, and then we'll jump right into gameplay footage, and I hope you enjoy. All right, so here is the deck list. If you are unfamiliar with any of these cards, I'll kind of go over what the new cards are. There are news articles on Plaid Hat Games website that go through all of the spoilers and stuff, so if you want to see it in official capacity, they are there. However, I will be going over the cards in this list, and we'll start with the Phoenixborn because you might not recognize this is a new Phoenixborn, Hope Everthorn. Now, Hope is a very interesting Phoenixborn in that they are capable of being very aggressive, very swarmy, but also they have a lot of cards in their precon that are also focused on sort of manipulating dice, changing your opponent's dice to certain sides, which can feed into a sort of a more mill-oriented game plan. But for this list, and you might be able to tell just based on what units you see here, this list is going towards more of the aggressive side. It's going to use a little bit of Demona's deck in it, but also kind of fueled by what Hope is doing. And Hope has a lot of very powerhouse stuff going on here. So let's go over Hope first. So Hope is a 6 battlefield, 17 health, 5 spellboard. Phoenixborn, already right out of the gate, those are amazing stats. 6 battlefield isn't like super amazing, but considering the life total and the spellboard that you get, 6 is pretty good. You don't really see such a high spellboard count with also having like a decent life total and a good battlefield. But their ability is actually very, very, very strong. It's called Duplicate. It's a side action, exhaust basic dice. You can choose a conjuration you control with a life value of 1 and copy it. You put a copy of that conjuration onto the battlefield. At the end of the turn, it goes away, but crucially, you are attacking with this unit pretty much every time. You summon it and you swing with it and it goes away, but you've already gotten the value out of it. So it's essentially just copying the best 1 health conjuration on your field and using it for a turn. Now, at its base level, this could just mean a 2 attack, 1 health unit with like a quick attack. You basically just attack immediately, sort of like Light Swordsman is. But it's so much more than that. You can copy Lightbringer to duplicate its effect and make your opponent spend another turn attacking. You can copy a Salamander Monk, which you can attack with, and then when it dies, the Monk Spirit comes back, so you get the Monk Spirit value. You can copy a Raptor Hatchling and turn on group tactics really easily. There's lots of different ways that you can manipulate and use this ability, and it's pretty potent. But it also feeds very well into Hope's Void Pulse card, which is their signature card. And Void Pulse is a monster of a card. It's a reaction, one basic, and basically after you declare attackers, you deal damage to a target unit equal to the amount of attacking units you have. So if you're attacking with 4 units, you deal 4 damage at reaction speed for 1 die. That's crazy. You just nuke a knight while attacking. So you get a little bit of an action cheating mechanism here. It costs only 1, and it's just a huge bomb. And now you might think that's plenty good as it is, and it is very good. But if you destroy the unit, you also get to draw 2 cards, and then you get to change 2 dice in a target player's active pool to a side of your choice. You don't lower them, you change them to blanks. This is insane. You're costing your opponent 2 cards from their deck or hand to fix those dice. And so you're drawing 2, making them mill 2, and blowing up one of their units, all at reaction speed for 1 die. Crazy. Now you do have to commit your board to attacking. But like we mentioned just a moment ago, Hope has the duplicate ability, which lets them basically expand their battlefield at an instant on a side action. Since this doesn't cost a side action, you can just side action create another unit. It adds 1 damage to Void Pulse and potentially puts you in threshold of being able to destroy whatever unit you need to destroy to get through, push attackers through. Now this is all very aggressive. I think you recognize Hope is kind of built for this aggression. And when you think about in terms of their signature card and what kind of setup it needs and duplicate, you actually start to see that the 6 battlefield is actually a bit of a constraint. And it will be clogged. Hope has to deal with battlefield clog more than most Phoenixborn who have similar battlefield sizes to them, just because they are reliant on getting those duplicated units out and swinging wide to turn on Void Pulse and to really power that card up. Okay, so with Hope out of the way explained, I'll try to go through the rest of this pretty quickly so we can get to the gameplay. We are using Piercing Light from Demona's deck. And Piercing Light, it costs a Divine Power, and it's a ready spell with an always on, always active ability. It says, all units you control with a Divine die on them have Overkill 1. Basically, it just lets you push damage through with units, any unit you want, by just putting a Divine Power die on them. Now, Divine Power lets the units, gives them +1 attack, so it lets them trade up easier and deal the overkill damage through to the Phoenixborn as well. The cool thing about Piercing Light here, all numerical abilities are like this. It does stack, so you can put 3 Piercing Light down. Now all of your units have Overkill 3. It's a pretty big investment, but it can pay off in spades towards the end of the game when you're trying to close out a game. And really, no deck that focuses solely on unit attacks does something like this. Usually you have to splash in some kind of side win condition, like a secondary win con, like mill, or with some burn spells or so on to finish off your opponent, because just swinging units is kind of hard to close a game that way. But this really lets you play that kind of style of deck while also dealing the damage through that you need to close the game. To supplement Piercing Light, we also have a Royal Charm. Now, the cool thing about Royal Charm with this is these two have lots of synergy. You can use Piercing Light. You can pay to put Piercing Light into play, and the Divine Die that you use to put it in play goes straight onto Royal Charm, which you can then use to give something the Overkill ability. So these work really well together. The only problem is it's 6 cards dedicated to this, and they're all ready spells, and if you draw into a bunch of them, it's not great. So there's a little bit of a engine building thing going on here, but the idea here for me anyway was to use Void Pulse to draw into these ready spells, and especially the Royal Charms, the ones that are free, and play them without losing too much of your flexibility in your hand, what cards you draw. As for the remaining spellboard slots, they're all books. We've got Lightbringer. We're in Divine. We play Lightbringer. That's as simple as it is. It's a very, very good card. You play it. Has great synergy with Duplicate, as we talked about earlier. Salamander Monk. Also, we're in we're in Sympathy. We play Salamander Monk. Again, really great synergy with Duplicate as well. The only thing we have to be careful with Salamander Monk is that we can sort of clog around battlefield with units that can't block. And like we talked about earlier, Hope does have a little bit of an issue with battlefield clog, so we have to be wary of that. Same with this next card, Vampire Bat Swarm. Vampire Bat Swarm is really cool in that you pay an initial 2 dice cost for a 2/1, which is not a great investment, but you get to essentially, anytime it's destroyed, you can pay a ceremony or a sympathy and just put the vampire bat back out, which is really, really cool. You can duplicate this if you want. There is a little bit of rules weirdness with like the swarm and duplicate interactions, but you know, when that comes up, we'll get to it. It has Group Tactics 1, which is really, really good here because Hope is they're really good at just turning on group tactics. It's just kind of trivial for Hope to do that. So Vampire Bat Swarm is another resilient unit here as well. We are playing a couple Sleeping Widows as well to lean into that go wide strategy. All of this to sort of synergize with Void Pulse and get that going. Now, to supplement Piercing Light, we have the new Wayward Recruit, which is a 1-cost Divine ally. It comes in as a 0/2 with 1 recover, which is actually really good. And when it comes into play, you choose a Divine die in your exhausted pool and you resolve its dice power. So again, this is playing into that Piercing Light thing where we're going to have spent these Divine dice on Piercing Lights and Lightbringers and so on, and then we use Wayward Recruit to get like double duty out of those dice. Now, also, Wayward Recruit costs 1 Divine to put into play. You can use that die that you'd spent to put it into play immediately with this armed ability. So it could just come in as an overkill 1 unit. It will be like a 1/2, so it's probably not going to be able to kill too much on its own there, but you can use that 1 divine die that comes in to beef up a Master Vampire, which has Stalk, and now it's a 4/4 Stalk, Life Drain 1, Overkill 1, 2, 3, whatever. You get the picture. It's really strong. Same with Grave Knight. Already has Overkill, so it's just stacking with Piercing Light as well. Sonic Swordsman loves this Piercing Light stuff because you beef up the Sonic Swordsman with a Divine die. Most of the time, when a Sonic Swordsman swings, you're gonna bait out a Phoenixborn Guard from your opponent, and it's a lot more frustrating to Phoenixborn Guard a Sonic Swordsman that has 4 attack than it is to guard one that has 3 attack. So it just makes it that much more frustrating to guard, and it makes it very, very potent if they don't guard it. So using those Salamander Monks to pressure your opponent's guard is crucial here because it really makes the Sonic Swordsman swing so nasty with those Divine dice. The rest of the deck is pretty self-explanatory. I have 2 heal in here. I switched these out during the game. This is not in the deck right now. These are Blessing of Lightning, and we can talk about that card real quick, actually, because it's kind of important as well. So Blessing of Lightning is a Divine cost. It's a side action, and you choose 3 Divine dice in your exhausted pool and resolve their dice powers without paying the cost. So again, we're doing the same thing as with Royal Charm and with Wayward Recruit, where we're just reusing those Divine dice that we spent on units and such, and we're putting out there. Now, when you have a Piercing Light or 2 out, the value of this card exponentially grows. Now, we're already attacking wide most of the time with Hope anyway, because of Void Pulse and their abilities and so on. So, like, this fits in pretty well. It is a little bit risky to run a bunch of these because we already have a lot of sort of dead draws in our deck, and this can be really dead with multiples, drawing multiple of them. But we'll see how it goes. Okay, so just to finish up here, Raptor Herder, it goes in. It's really good. It's good with Hope. It's good in general. We're only running 2 copies here, but it could easily be 3. We have 3 Blood Chains as well. Again, Battlefield Clog is going to be a really big deal, and in lieu of sort of harder removal, we can just, clear one of our battlefield slots up, exhaust one of their opponent's units so that they can't block us, and then just swing in. It's a very aggressive sort of removal option for us here. It's just sort of just to feed our aggression. Most of the removal of our deck is just attacking with units. We don't have a whole lot of other ways to get rid of stuff, except for Void Pulse, of course. And lastly, new ideas. I have one of these in here just in case we draw a handful of this stuff, like stuff that we don't really want to be drawing a lot into, especially early in a round. We can use new ideas as a side action to sort of filter our hand a little bit and try and draw into some more allies and so on. We might need to bump that up actually, but we'll see how that goes. So that's basically the entire deck. Sorry, that was a bit of a long deck tech. I didn't mean it to be that long, but we'll go ahead and get right into the gameplay footage now, and we'll do some commentary on that. All right, so as I said earlier, we are playing against Brian B. Excellent human being. Love playing against Brian. It's always a pleasure. We see that Brian is playing Auric, and lots of divine dice, like a whole lot of divine. So I think it's reasonably safe to assume that Brian is probably doing a similar thing to what we're doing with the piercing light and blessing of lightning stuff. Meteor is obviously it could totally be in here. There's plenty of opportunity to pay for it. There's a little bit of charm and a little bit of sympathy. Now, charm and sympathy, I think when you see Charm Divine, you think Royal Charm is going to be on the way. But you seeing this few Charm dice, it's probably used for cancels or stuff like paying for Essence Druid, I think is something that we're very likely to see here. Auric loves Essence Druid because Auric likes to meditate, and you can meditate a lot with his ability, get these ready spells into the discard pile, play Essence Druid to get them back. Auric really likes that kind of thing. But with this much focus on the Divine, we can kind of maybe more easily narrow down what kind of cards they're playing and what cards they aren't playing here. I think, we're unlikely to see Beast Tamer and stuff like that in this list. It's probably not super mill heavy. It's just a lot of divine stuff. So first 5 here, kind of looking and trying to pick between a couple different things, and I ended up going with a 2-book plan. So we're with Lightbringer and Salamander Monk. And this is sort of a swarmy opening. We do have the Knight there in case we need a little bit of defense and or guard pressure. But we are opening with Sleeping Widows, and we open with Void Pulse. So the idea here is that Void Pulse can draw us into some more flexible options if we want. We're really looking to draw into those Royal Charms and Piercing Lights to get them down and start building value with that. So seeing the Emperor Lion being played from Brian B, which is really interesting, we go ahead and follow up with a Lightbringer. Lightbringer is always a very safe spell book to put down first, because you just basically give yourself the option to exhaust a unit anytime you want. It may be at the cost of your Phoenixborn Guard, but they also play Lightbringer, so kind of on a similar game plan here. We don't want to commit any of our dice quite yet, so we're going to play a Salamander Monk book as well. So neither of us spending any dice yet, just setting up books, trying to see what the opponent's up to. Now, the Emperor Lion is really interesting. It means that they can fetch a law of their choice, and that can be really bad for us. Law of Sight can shut down reactions so that we can't use Void Pulse or our Widows. That could be crippling here. Law of Fear can kind of make our swarm a lot less effective, so we'll see what happens there. Brian does play the Royal Charm, and then we have a heal that is put in the discard, I believe, to meditate, and they choose not to put it into their hand. That makes sense. They haven't lost any life yet, so there's no really need for heal at the moment. Seeing the Salamander Monk come down from me, I don't want to play Sonic Swordsman right now, and I can't play my other two cards. I don't want to summon Lightbringer. I have nothing on the field to duplicate, so Salamander Monk is the play. Now, unfortunately, this open with the two reaction spells on hand kind of puts us in an awkward spot for trying to delay actions and wait our opponent out and see what they do. We can't really do that with two reactions in our hand, unfortunately. Piercing Light comes down, so we do see they are on the similar game plan that we are. Piercing Light, obviously the die that was used to pay for that immediately goes onto the Royal Charm and can be used at any time. So really, they've almost spent no dice here. Is kind of how that works out. I'm gonna have to meditate up to play this Sonic Swordsman. Again, I don't want to do this, but I don't have any other good actions. I want to save my Salamander Monk for attacking a unit, so I have to play this Sonic Swordsman. So we see Emperor Lion come down now. What law did they pick? They picked Law of Fear. So yeah, we talked about this a minute ago. This is actually pretty rough for us. So all units attack value is lowered by 1, which means our Sleeping Widows and duplicating that and so on is going to be a lot less effective this turn. The Sonic Swordsman can't really trade into the Emperor Lion without being buffed. So yeah, this was pretty rough, actually. I don't like seeing that law at all. It's going to be causing us a lot of issues. And you can see, because of like Brian playing Auric and using this Emperor Lion, they filled their spell board already and still haven't played all the cards in their hand. They still have a lot of dice left. It's pretty cool how it's working out here for them. We're going to go ahead and do the Lightbringer just because we can't play any of the cards in our hand. We don't want to attack. We'll just force them to use the Emperor Lion to attack here. I think that's the best use we're going to get out of this Lightbringer, unfortunately. So I'll just go ahead and do that. I'm taking a look at my draw pile to see what I have and what I could draw potentially with Void Pulse. Yeah, and also the summoning the Lightbringer does turn on the Void Pulse here. Now, they are using the Royal Charm die to beef up the Emperor Lion and attacking my Lightbringer. So now I have Phoenixborn Guard this, and maybe I shouldn't have. I think that might have been better to just let them kill my Lightbringer. They'll do the 1 overkill damage to me, but really, I didn't need to guard this at all. I'm not sure why I did it. It's kind of a misplay. I should have just let them kill my Lightbringer. Then I can duplicate the Salamander Monk, swing, Void Pulse, kill the Emperor Lion, and be about my business. Yeah, the Phoenixborn Guard there was really not necessary at all. I should have blocked. That would have been much, much better. That 3 health difference is going to probably come back to bite me later on down the road. We'll see. And here I think I choose to pass, I believe. I don't really want to attack for 2 here with 3 units just to kill the Emperor Lion with the Void Pulse. It's not really what I want to do. It's a really, really bad attack, and it means that I am probably not going to get as good of a Void Pulse value. What I really want to do is I want to wait out, because again, looking at their dice, they have the dice they need for Essence Druid, and Essence Druid can be really, really nasty. They also have the dice for Sonic Swordsman of their own. So being able to duplicate one of my Conjurations, swing with 4, and then Void Pulse and blow that up is really what I want to be doing. However, if I pass here, it's very likely that Brian just takes the pass. He's done 3 damage to me. He's got 5 spells out. He's spent the same amount of dice as me. He got his attack in with his Emperor Lion. If I pass here, I'm throwing way more value out than what Brian would be throwing out by following up with his own pass. We'd move into the next round, and I just feel like that's not great. That was my idea anyway. But also, using the Void Pulse on the line like that, it's possible that I could have waited that out, and just gone to the next round. You know, I've got a decent board here. Um, I was just kind of afraid, I think, of trying to stall too much against Auric instead of being more proactive, because the late game favors Auric, I believe, in this. So, yeah, I don't know. It could have gone either way, I believe, but this, yeah, it was kind of a rough situation no matter what. First fiving both of those reactions was, in hindsight, it restricted my play quite a bit. Okay, so Brian meditates a bit and then plays the Sonic Swordsman out, and here I am further regretting swinging with all the units. I should have just waited and see if he plays the Knight. If he does, then I can duplicate and then swing for 4 and then Void Pulse and kill the Knight instead of the exhausted Emperor Lion. Plus, he's got the Royal Charm die. No, just kidding. He does not have the Royal Charm die. This is an Ashteki bug. That should have been exhausted and not have the die on it anymore because he already used it on the Emperor Lion. So we just went ahead and said, okay, he doesn't have that. But he does have the Divine Die in his pool that he can spend to beef up the Sonic Swordsman, and yeah, that's a problem. So we drew into a Blood Chains, and so we are going to use that Blood Chains to exhaust the Sonic Swordsman. That's the best use of that die that we have right now, just to do that. And then we can bump up these other 2 dice to be able to play the Master Vampire. So all in all, it's not terrible, the situation we're in. I think we could have probably been a little bit more efficient with our use of Void Pulse, but we ended up drawing into Blood Chains and it kind of saved our butt. So yeah, that worked out pretty well, and we're still able to play the Master Vampire too. So we might be coming ahead pretty strong on this first round. We'll see. He does use the Divine to play a Lightbringer, which forces me to attack with the Salamander Monk Spirit. Now, since I know that I have the Master Vampire in hand, ready to go, I think what I'm going to do here is attack the Sonic Swordsman, and we'll see if that prompts a Phoenixborn Guard. It should, just in case, but we'll see. Attacking. Oh, except for I forgot that Law of Fear is in play, which means my Salamander Monk Spirit has 0 attack. Yeah, that's really good there. I say in the chat, it's obnoxious. Law of Fear is putting in a ton of work for Brian right now. It's preventing just a lot of good trades. It's preventing a lot of damage. Yeah, this is very, very strong for him. And then since my guard is down, I used it earlier. Remember, I used it to block the Emperor Lion, took 3 damage. Now he's able to pick apart my board any way that he chooses, and that's not good either. I do get to play the Master Vampire, and it only has 2 attack anyway, so it wouldn't have been able to kill the Sonic Swordsman regardless. But I do get to attack the exhausted Lightbringer here and heal just a little bit. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And all in all, like, when it comes down to it, this is not at all a bad position for me. I do have 3 damage on my Phoenixborn, but I've got 2 Knights down on the board, and he's got 1. So, yeah, Brian had to sacrifice a lot to get this kind of spell board thing going early on, and I was able to build a pretty significant board. The problem is, am I going to be able to capitalize on it? Am I going to be able to get the damage through? So we'll see. Looking at this hand that I drew into, it's not great. This is exactly what I was talking about with Blessing of Light earlier, is that drawing into multiple of them is really, really bad. That's impossible for me to use 2 in 1 round with only 4 Divine Dice. And it probably is not very possible for me to do that anyway, because you have to have a wide enough board to use them both. So, yeah, it really, really sucks drawing into 2 of those. I still haven't spent my Sleeping Widows. I didn't draw into many units, only a Master Vampire, none of my cheaper units that I would like to see. I didn't draw into any of my Piercing Light or Royal Charm. So the game plan is not really working here. It kind of just drew into a really clunky round 2 hand that is very unfortunate. We'll have to see how we can pressure Brian regardless of the bad luck there. And again, here is where I would have loved to have seen a Void Pulse. I mean, it would have been perfect. You can duplicate the Salamander Monk Spirit, swing for 4, blow up the Sonic Swordsman for 1 die, deal, 8 damage, right? And put Auric down to 8 health remaining. Yeah, that would have been a huge turn for us to just do that and just blow it up. But it's not in the cards. We didn't draw it, so yeah, it would have been a really big swing, but we didn't get to do it. Instead, we're going to go ahead and guard pressure here. He decides not to. Phoenixborn Guard, he wants to save that for later. So we do the damage to the Sonic Swordsman, which means we can open up a kill with one of our knights. Probably Master Vampire since it has the stalk ability on it. So we'll see how that goes. No dice spent here. We just kind of get to save our resources for later. We see a Divine Power put on the Sonic Swordsman, and then he's attacking. So this is great guard pressure here. We take 4, or we lose our Master Vampire and get exhaust on our Sonic Swordsman. There's really no choice here at all. That other alternative is so bad that we pretty much just have to take the 4 damage, lose our guard, which is really unfortunate, but it at least exhausted the Sonic Swordsman. We have a chance to counterattack here for 6. But instead, we're just going to take the kill with the Master Vampire, heal a little bit. Now, this may not have been the right choice. In fact, looking sort of back on this with fresh eyes and knowing what our deck's trying to do and what our game plan is, it may have been better to just take the 6 damage while we can get it, and then plan on using Bloodchains to clear our battlefield slots, Lightbringer, Salamander Monk, Duplicate, and Sleeping Widows to try and swing more wide, and then use Master Vampire to clear up things later in the round. That may have been the right choice, may have been to just do the 6 damage while we had the opportunity. So yeah, it may not have been a good choice there to clean up the Sonic Swordsman. We're gonna put the Salamander Monk down and then pass. No need to meditate. We rolled really well this round. So Brian is meditating. Only 1 card, meditates the Blessing of Lightning, and I think chooses not to. Oh, no, Auric is already exhausted, so can't put it into his hand. Puts a 2nd Royal Charm down. Now, all these Divine Dice that Brian is spending are just going to be stored for later, set up with that Piercing Light, so he's getting his engine going. The same engine we want to get going, but we didn't draw into it, so Brian's later game is starting to look more and more in his favor than ours is, which is, again, probably another indicator that we should have taken the opportunity to be more aggressive when we had the chance. We can duplicate here and create a Salamander Monk and attack. We may not get a better opportunity to do this, so we'll just go ahead and do it. Again, we don't have the Void Pulse really to want to capitalize on this, so we're just gonna swing with 2, deal 2 damage, and then get our Monk Spirit from that dying, and then we could react with the Widows, choose not to. Leaving the Sonic Swordsman up to fight for the battlefield. Again, I'm not sure if this was the right move. I feel like we probably should have just gone face, just kept attacking face while we had the chance, and you know, make good use of this massive battlefield advantage that we have right now. Brian's gonna play a Raptor Herder, which is going to give him 2 blockers. And again, our guard is down, so he has free reign to pick apart our board any way he wants. We're going to go summon a Lightbringer. Now we are fully clogged battlefield now. And yeah, we're forcing them to attack with the Herder. Can't use the Hatchling. This is a great opportunity to use Lightbringer. We may not get a better opportunity just because it basically forces him to commit a lot more to get the hatchling value. But since he kills our unit and we have 5 slots full, we can't really use the Sleeping Widows here. We'll have to Bloodchains later and then Sleeping Widows on our turn, which gives him the opportunity to respond. So yeah, having these monk spirits clogging up our battlefield is not doing us any favors. We would love for him to use some AoE to clear up our space, but he doesn't need to. We kind of need to take just an attack action here because we don't really have anything else we want to do. We could play the Master Vampire, which is fine, but it locks us out of a Blood Chains Widows play later, because we only have three ceremonial dice. So choosing to attack here instead, again, maybe not the right choice. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. This is a really tricky matchup here because we have to decide between like taking out all these value turns and like just pushing face damage when we have the opportunity, and that can be kind of difficult to gauge, mid game. It's easy to look back later and see that, but mid game it can be kind of hard to make those decisions. Now we've got a massive battlefield advantage here. 2 knights, multiple salamanders and monk spirits out. This is huge, so we're just kind of waiting to see what he's gonna do. He's got to clean this up somehow, or we're just gonna round after round be putting the hurt on. We had a little bit of an Ashteki issue here where Lightbringer, it wouldn't let him use the power die if he wanted to, so we have to manual mode. He's gonna use the power die intentionally for the Lightbringer so that it goes on to the Royal Charm. And forcing me to attack here is huge. So this is why attacking with the Salamander Monk Spirit probably was the wrong play last turn. I should have played the Master Vampire instead, because attacking with the Monk Spirit means my only unexhausted unit is Sonic Swordsman. And since he has Lightbringer up, he plays Lightbringer and forces me to attack with Sonic Swordsman. His guard is up, he can do whatever he wants, but really, since there's no other units on the board right now, I'm forced to attack into face, and he's going to block it with the Lightbringer, which means I get basically no value out of my Sonic Swordsman at all. This is really, really bad. I should have played a unit instead or just passed main. I had no reason really to attack. I could have just passed main. I have this huge advantage. Again, it would have been like last round where I just was able to pass and just wait it out because I had such a huge advantage. I should have just done that. Instead, I basically let him exhaust my Sonic Swordsman. So far, 2 really, really big misplays in this game. Guarding the Emperor Lion, taking 3 extra damage when I didn't need to, and now wasting my Sonic Swordsman, not getting to attack with it in a way that's very advantageous. Yeah, pretty big misplays, and they're actually costing me a lot here. Now my whole board's exhausted, and Brian has free reign to do whatever he wants. Now we do have the wound on the Sonic Swordsman, so we can Blood Chains and double exhaust something. That's not exactly what we want to be doing with the Sonic Swordsman, especially since it didn't get any value earlier. It just killed a Lightbringer. That's not really what we want to be doing. That's essentially, we're paying 4 dice to double exhaust a unit and kill a Lightbringer. Not good value at all. So we see Steadfast Guardian book come down. Not at all what we want to be seeing. We have plenty of units that can trade into it, but they're all exhausted. So this Steadfast Guardian comes down. It's a really annoying unit. If you haven't played against it, it's a 1 attack, 3 health unit for 2 dice. And it has unit guard and alert, so it can just block basically anything over and over again. Unless it, obviously dies. There's a 1 conjuration limit on it, so you can only have 1 out at a time, but that alert is gonna cause us a lot of issues. We've been passing a lot because we don't really have a whole lot we want to do. At this point, though, seeing the Steadfast Guardian come down, knowing that there's an Emperor Lion available, we can do one of 2 things. We can either play the Master Vampire, which sort of, again, we're trying to keep open the Widow's play. Which maybe we shouldn't have done that. But yeah, we go ahead and go for the Bloodchains Widows here. Um, yeah, this is not the best. This is not the best because we put out the 2 Widows. We double exhaust the Steadfast Guardian, which is nice. It's a 1 Conjuration limit unit, and it's taken out for 2 rounds, so he can't summon another one. He can't do anything with that. But we had the Widows on our turn here, which gives him the basically every opportunity to take them out. So he can just swing with the Lioness in and kill one of those before we can do anything with it. Yeah, not fantastic. But playing the Master Vampire instead would have walked us into a different line of play. We wouldn't be able to use the Bloodchains, or we would leave a Ceremonial die stranded. So see the Emperor Lion come down. We do have a Blessing of Lightning play here, and we go ahead and do that. So we're gonna lose 1 die of value on this just to buff up those spiders and swing for 6. The spiders trade with the Emperor Lion. So we're basically just seeing how much damage do you want to take? Do you want to trade your whole board here to block these? He has no dice left, and we have a pretty decent board if he does block them, so I don't think it's going to happen. Instead, he just takes 6 damage. So yeah, not bad, honestly. This could have been... this could have gone a lot worse for us if he had, you know, Meteor or something instead of the Emperor Lion. Could have taken out the Widows, cleaned up a lot of our board, and then still had some units of his own sitting out. Well, no, actually the Lioness would die, but yeah, I mean, it could have been worse. He's got 9 health remaining. We've got 11 health remaining, but he's going to be doing some cleanup here. Emperor Lion with the Divine Power destroys our Master Vampire, and we take a damage from that because of Piercing Light. So he gets to trade up for free and gets to do his damage through anyway. Not fantastic. We go ahead and use a Sympathy Power to draw a card and see if we can draw into like a Raptor Herder or something useful. We draw into another Widows, which is not what we want at all. Royal Charm gets used again, beef up the Winged Lioness. Doesn't need the attack power. He's just trying to push damage through. It's going to attack and kill Widows and then deal another damage to us. So he's destroying our board. And now, like before, our board looked pretty good into his, honestly. If we'd played another Master Vampire, it looks pretty good into his board. Now, though, looking at our board, we're even on life, and our board looks so much worse than his. So within just a couple of turns, this has turned around on us very badly. He's got the value engine set up. He's got the better board. He is at life parity with us, and we're slowing down and running out of gas. This is not what we really where we want to be at all, and it's because of those sort of misplays earlier where we took too much damage and we let our units die and not get value. That has put us in this position. Like if you think about what we could have done earlier, if we hadn't guarded the Emperor Lion, we would be only at 5 wounds instead of 8, which is a much bigger life lead. And if we had not played into his Lightbringer, we would have been able to get another swing in with our Sonic Swordsman, potentially exhaust something, maybe deal 3 damage. He could be at 6. So just if all that damage, face damage, had like shifted, right? Even if we didn't think about like even if we didn't think about like Sonic Swordsman value from like the exhaustion, if it was just face damage, we would be at 5 and he would be at 6. Or sorry, we would be at not 5, we would be at 5 wounds. We would be at 12 and he would be at 6, which is much, much better. Even though our board is kind of significantly worse here, it would be much better position if we had played it a little bit differently earlier on. Now he plays Sonic Swordsman, and again, this is just getting out of control. We can't really deal with this. It's very problematic. Uh, let's see what kind of plays we've got here. And again, too, we did not draw into a Void Pulse. If we had a Void Pulse here, then our plan looks so much better. We can just swing with 4 units here, use Void Pulse to kill that Sonic Swordsman for 1, draw into some other stuff, some other threats to play, spin down some of his dice so he can't use reactions with those charm dice. Void Pulse would have basically, it would have covered our butts quite a bit. So we play the Piercing Light just to try and see if we can get back some value here, but we can't trade up into his units like he can trade into ours. So okay, so we see a meditation here, and then using that die to pay for the second Piercing Light. So now we've got 2 Piercing Light and 2 Royal Charm, and they're both loaded up with dice. He's gonna start melting, just absolutely melting me. I really need to be able to win this round probably, or I'm gonna lose the game. And unfortunately, looking at this hand and looking at the board that we have here, I don't think it's really possible to pull out a win at this point. I think fallen behind way, way too much, and he has all the value and all the time in the world to capitalize on it. So knowing that we don't have Void Pulse in hand, looking at what our options are, kind of eyeing the duplicate here to duplicate the Widow and swing at the Winged Lioness just to try and get something off the board. It basically leaves our board in the exact same position it was in, except for we've taken out a Lioness, or he takes 2 damage here, which either one is probably fine for him. So, and we see he plays Call to Action to get the Steadfast Guardian unexhausted, and then guards that attack. So yeah, that was pretty rough. We're gonna respond probably with the Widows here. We're trying really hard to decide whether or not it's worth playing the Widows here or not. Again, yeah. Again, playing Widows on our own turn, giving him opportunity to respond to it, not what we want to be doing with Widows. That's not like a surprise, reaction play that you want to be doing with Widows. What you want to be doing with Widows is your opponent kills something, you respond by playing Widows, and then you swing with them next turn and get value immediately. And we're not really doing that here. That's the second time this game that I've been kind of forced to play Widows at an inopportune time. And because Steadfast Guardian has alert, it's still up to block. So yeah, that call to action was pretty huge there too. So see Summon Lightbringer come down, he's going to force an attack. And yeah, right now we would like to swing with lethal damage, but we can't push through these blockers. He's got alert units left and right, and he can afford to just block just within lethal to leave enough units up to where he can counterattack and basically kill me. So he mentions that a Void Pulse here would be really good, and Void Pulse would be very good. We can swing for 4. Like we could swing with the 3 Widows and 1 of the Monk Spirits, or maybe just 2 Widows, 2 Monk Spirits, and kill his Sonic Swordsman, and that makes this whole situation so much better. But we don't have it. And really, lamenting the not drawing into Void Pulse is sort of distracting from the real problem. The real problem was not our, bad luck that we didn't draw Void Pulse. It could be easy to blame it on that, but that's not the problem. The problem is we made some really bad decisions earlier on, and it cost way too much here. So attacking with 2 Widows, 2 Salamander Monks, again, kind of alluding to having the Void Pulse, but we don't have it. So we push through 2 damage, we kill some blockers, but yeah, still not looking fantastic. Go ahead and meditate, because we know we're going to play the Master Vampire this turn. getting rid of the Grave Knight. We would much rather play the Grave Knight over Master Vampire, I think, here, but, you know, it is what it is. And we'll get that Divine Die too, just in case we want to try and do something with the Piercing Light. And meditated the Void Pulse, so there it was. 2 Void Pulses in the discard pile. We've used 1, and we meditated 1. So it's, you know, even though we've made some pretty big misplays here, and it cost us a lot, it's still not an unwinnable position at this point. But it is looking pretty dire. They play a Steadfast Guardian again because we killed the other one, so let's them put another one out. So given our options here, we decide to kind of again try to just pull away some attackers, I think was the idea, but we're going to attack with Widows into our best choice is the Lioness. But if we do that, then that leaves exactly 7 attack open on his side of the board. He can swing. We can block at best 1 of those 3 attack units with our Salamander Monk, which puts us down to 5. And, you know, if he attacks with the Sonic Swordsman and we are forced to block that, then we get a double exhaust. And yeah, it's not great, but we are going to do instead, we're going to put the Divine Die on the Widow and attack. This is probably our best attack. We threaten the kill on the Lion and do 1 damage to Auric, or he has to Phoenixborn Guard here and take 3. But again, it's not like a great attack because he can attack with Sonic Swordsman, hit the Salamander Monk, double exhaust something, and then we have no blockers. So it's not great. Steadfast Guardian blocks it, and I realized, oh wait, he has a unit guard there. So I did get to kill the unit guard, but you know, the Lion's still out. Thinking about using dice power, potentially looking at those dice. He's gonna beef up the Winged Lioness, attack my only blocker, and I'm gonna take 2 damage here because of Piercing Light. So I'm now down to 7. And again, if I hadn't blocked earlier in the game, I would be at 10, and this would look a lot better for me, but now none of my units block. He's got 6 damage on board, which is almost lethal. With the Royal Charm die, actually, it is lethal. So I am forced to put a blocker down. There's really no other choice that I have. He's got 6 damage on the board, plus another one from the Divine Die is 7, and he's guaranteed that overkill damage. So no matter what I put down, it's gonna be, you know, it's gonna take overkill damage. So I have to play Raptor Herder here and get 2 blockers out, which will buy me a little bit of time. Not much, but just a little bit. We can see that the Piercing Light engine here, the thing that we were trying to do, actually, is working really, really well for Brian here. He's been able to focus on clearing units, fighting for the board to, like, I mean, again, think about back, like, just 1 round ago, how much of a huge board advantage that I had. And he's been able to fight for the board and push damage through at the same time to where now he has the more advantageous board, and we are slowly losing that life lead over many turns. So Piercing Light is doing a ton of work here. He puts Winged Lioness book back out. I guess he's running multiples of them. This is a really interesting deck. At this point, we realize our best play is to put the Master Vampire down, because we want to be able to get that down, use the Rarid Recruit to put the Divine Die on the Master Vampire, and then trade up with the Sonic Swordsman. Unfortunately, we're just not going to have time to do that at all. We still have a guard up, but we can't afford to take a 4 damage hit from a buffed Sonic Swordsman, so instead, since we can't block with this anyway, we just decide to delay our turn just a little bit and attack with the Monk Spirit, and puts a new Lioness into play. So, yeah, we need another blocker out. Gonna go ahead and play the Master Vampire, and it's gonna get demolished by the buffed Sonic Swordsman, or buffed Emperor Lion, whichever one he wants. But Sonic Swordsman will trade up with the Master Vampire, deal 2 damage to me, and exhaust another blocker. So, and that's exactly what we see happen. Oh, no, just kidding. He puts it on the Emperor Lion. Not sure why he didn't want to do it on the Sonic Swordsman, actually. But we can choose to guard this. It's 4 damage to guard it. But we get to keep our Master Vampire alive. So we go ahead and take the 4. We're at 3 health now. We can't play our Reborn Recruit because we don't have battlefield slots. Again, kind of thing we were talking about earlier with Hope is that one of the maybe only big weaknesses that Hope has is that her battlefield can get really constrained. It can get really full very fast. And so I'm like, okay, well, maybe I try to clear up a little bit of space and just attack base. Again, I'm not sure this is the right move or not. I should have attacked maybe the Winged Lioness with the Master Vampire to get rid of it and heal a little bit. But he did block with the Sonic Swordsman, which means we can trade up with the Master Vampire. But yeah, my guard's broken. So he can just exhaust the Master Vampire. And it's just another one of those things that I just didn't think about and I should have thought through a little bit more carefully. Guarding against the Emperor Lion, it broke my guard, and it made it to where Sonic Swordsman can do whatever he wants. And that was a big, big mistake. I needed to either not block, not Phoenixborn Guard, or I needed to use my Master Vampire to attack the Lioness and get value out of that before Sonic Swordsman does its thing. Would have healed one. But yeah, it's just, yeah, several big misplays this game that sort of like ended up costing me a lot. And I think this is a great game to demonstrate that. Because you see like how these seemingly small misplays, they seem like small things, but they actually have huge consequences. Again, like just thinking back, like I would be at 6 health instead of 3 if I hadn't guarded way earlier against the Emperor Lion. 6 to 6, even life total with a somewhat even board, that would have made a big difference. Being able to get value out of that Sonic Swordsman, putting him down to 3 potentially. 6 to 3 is a whole lot better than 3 to 6, and especially in this position. And then just that losing value out of my Master Vampire and not being able to use it that turn at all. Those 3 big misplays were huge here. Now I can Void Pulse and kill that Sonic Swordsman. And I think that's the plan here. It's just attack with 3. Oh, I'm just going to Void Pulse and kill the Emperor Lion instead. Because I can't block with those anyway, so I might as well use them. I could have duplicated, actually. No, I couldn't, because there's a conjuration limit of 3, so. I don't know why I didn't spin down the Charmed Eye instead of the Divine one. That probably would have been better, but I don't know. I guess at this point, I didn't think it really made a bit much of a difference. Yep, putting him down to 5. 4, sorry. Putting him down to 4. He's got 2 attackers up. He needs to do 3 damage. Doesn't have any divine power, so that is interesting. And I have the opportunity here to play new ideas and filter hand a little bit, but I decided not to, I think. I'm not sure why. I probably should have just put the Royal Charm on the bottom, draw 2 more cards, and see if I can draw something helpful. But I don't know if there's anything left in the deck at this point, so I just decided not to do it. Interestingly here, I didn't actually notice this when I was playing the game, but Auric goes through their whole deck, which is kind of funny. 6 cards in hand, they don't really need to spend any of those cards, but it is interesting to think about that Auric did deck themselves. So if we did have some way to pull through this round and kind of like drain some of their resources and stuff. Like it's potential. There's like potential that we could win with some fatigue damage, but again, they have all the tempo. They have yeah, they just summon the second lioness here, and there's not really much we can do. The best we can do is summon a single blocker. So with this, I didn't know what was left in my deck. I just knew ideas to see, are there any raptor herders left? If I could play a raptor herder, then I can buy enough time um, to get another turn out. But instead, I have to play the Sonic Swordsman here. And now that he has the divine power, basically has all that he needs. He can buff up his Sonic Swordsman attack, kill, deal 2 damage to me, putting me at 1 life, and then exhausting my other blocker. And then I can't block both of the winged lionesses. So that's going to be the game, basically. I can't afford to Phoenix Swarm block that, so I just have to let it happen. I counter. But yeah, it doesn't really matter. I'm down to 1. I have no blockers. I can summon at best 1 blocker, and that is the game. So yeah, I hope this demonstrated a couple of things. First off, how you need to be careful, like very, very careful with these sort of small decisions that you make regarding when to block and what to attack, when to Phoenix Born guard and when to attack and when to put on pressure and not. These are all very subtle things that while I was playing, I didn't really realize they were huge misplays until later in the game, and then I realized, thinking back, oh, this was really bad. I hope also, though, that this demonstrated just how powerful hope can be, in that in several points during this game, if I had drawn a single Void Pulse, um, it would have essentially bought back all of that value that I left on the table and then some. That's really the power of this card. It can enable you to have some really, really big comebacks out of nowhere, because you trade up on dice, you trade up on cards, you get to push damage and attack and do it all with very minimal setup. So even 1 Void Pulse at the right time could have saved me the game and like actually covered up a huge amount of misplays that I made this game. But instead, Brian won, and it's because Brian made less mistakes. Honestly, I think one of Brian's greatest strengths as a player, and in my opinion, at least the games that I played with him, is that he doesn't really make a lot of mistakes. He just thinks things through very methodically and carefully, and yeah, it paid out for him here. The Piercing Light engine worked for him, and yeah, did a ton of work. So anyway, that was this game with the Hope and Demona cards. Hope you enjoyed it, and keep an eye out for more content coming soon. Catch you next time.